Hey everyone, it's Kerry Rome, and we are here. We're talking about fight or flight. If you've been following the conversation, you may have gotten here through a podcast or maybe a blog. We're talking about obstacles to creating a clear path to the growth that you want, to the revenue that you want, and some of those obstacles that you might face, which are fight or flight. And you experience those from your employees. So let's get into it. Your employees have basic needs. That's why they show up for work every day. They want to take care of their most basic needs. And we don't think about it this way, but it's really not too much to ask, is it? Well, so what's a basic need? Well, we have to go all the way primitive here. We have to go all the way back. Take everything away, literally everything. What can you not live without? Well, food. Of course, we've got to have food, right? So let's get into that. You're not going to last long without it. And you probably never think of it this way because we just sort of assume, right? And have you ever thought about why the government provides food stamps? Well, one of the theories is that, well, certainly that is a most basic need. But think about that from a standpoint of wanting people to go to work, right? If you take care of one of my most basic needs, then I may be more inclined to take a lower paying job, maybe a minimum wage job. And so it's to prop up, to give you a little support. And it's the most basic need to get people working, and that's why they're willing to subsidize it. And that should give us a pretty good hint about the next basic need. They usually go together. Can anyone guess? I'll give you a second. Shelter. Food and shelter. You hear it all the time. But when you talk about employees and coming to work, you probably don't think about it that way. So let's get into shelter. Well, ironically, another government subsidy, right? And you probably never thought about shelter in the context of your employees. Well, the fact is they come to work to provide for this most basic need. But it's hard for you to think about it this way. And that's why they come to work. Now, if they have extra, sure, they go and do nice things like vacations and nice cars. But at the most basic level, when push comes to shove, it's their most basic need. But how does this relate to growth? And how does this relate to the revenue that you want? Well, most growth plans involve doing something new. No big shock there. We have to break new ground often. Because we know, as business leaders, that new, it means opportunity. The problem is new is often equates to unknown, and unknown is translated to uncertain, and uncertain means threat. And you guessed it, threatened by my most basic needs. That's where the threat resonates with your employees. So how do they react? Well, we go all the way back to our primitive days. We're going to put them up, right? We're going to fight. We're going to fight for it. Or we're just going to get the heck out of here. We're going to flight. We call it flight. So let's dig into these a little bit, right? Fight or flight. We're going to talk about how, why, and when it happens. Both happen when your employees feel threatened. They react this way because they don't understand the path that you are going to take them on. What they do understand is their day job. But they don't understand their role in where you're going. And they certainly don't understand how they're going to get it done and do their day job. It stresses them out. So let's dig into fight. How will you know it? Well, you know it when you see it. Typically, it starts out with crossed arms, few words, a general look of displeasure, and then slight engagement with a sense of questioning out of concern and a growing, intense look, right? And then it goes into anger, animosity, and they just conclude that you just don't understand. And they're shutting down on you, they're fighting because they feel threatened. Now, what about flight? Now, this is the one that really, really should concern you because it starts off with early buy-in, early engagement, followed by a general feeling of being lost. Now, when you have meetings, maybe like an all-day strategy session or half day, right? These people start off and they're cheerleaders almost. And then you think, well, they just got tired because the day got long. Nope. They're probably having a sense of flight. because they get slightly disengaged, and then the questions of concern start, and then they go back. This is what happens. They go back to their day job, and they think, oh my gosh, my worthiness is feeling threatened. So I do know my day job, and so I'm going to hoard everything that I do so that nobody knows how to do what I do, and therefore I have worth. And so they can't get rid of me. And I know, you wouldn't think of it that way, but that's what happens, right? And when no information shared, you're not going to get anything done. Here's the thing. You're the guy. You've done this for years. You know where you need to go, and you know you don't have a choice. You just need a simple system that you can use that makes them, your employees, feel safe in getting where you want to go. So here are 5 tips for avoiding fight or flight. The first is anchor the conversation. Okay, let them know, hey, listen, my job is to think 12, 18, 24 months down the road. Your job, employees, often at lower levels, is to think 12, 18, 24 days, right? And that's a big jump. So anchor the conversation that we're going to have. We're going to separate some time. We're going to spend some time talking about where we want to go, and I want everybody's involvement. Let them know what's coming. The second is be aware of this thing called the curse of knowledge. Now, what is the curse of knowledge? Well, if you listen to the podcast, certainly you know a little bit about it, but think about when you are a business leader and you're thinking 12, 18, 24 months down the road. You know your business so well, and you are looking for inputs from all these different sources. You're going to conferences, you're talking to peers, you're talking to coaches and consultants, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading magazines, you're doing webinars. You are doing so much to sort of consume and learn. And along the way, all these dots of information that are floating around the knowledge that you have about your business, they start to line up. And when they start to line up, that's your aha moment. And you document that aha moment, and you're so excited about it. And you're excited about it because you want to tell your team, hey, my job's to do this, and man, I've got it figured out, and I can't wait to tell you. The problem is your employee's been working on the day job, the management of the business. And when you spring this on them so fast, and with using all the knowledge and the terms that you've picked up from all these other places, well, it's confusing to them, and it freaks them out, right? So ask these 3 big questions to get them involved. So what's the problem we're solving? Okay, I love this for just a warm up. Hey team, listen, I want to make sure that we get on the same page here. What is the problem that we're solving? Now, as a business leader, you may be a little concerned or disheartened at the answers that you'll get. They're probably going to be inconsistent. I'm just going to give you a warning. The next one is, who are we solving this problem for? Now, this one's probably going to upset you as well because you want a clear identity of your customer, right? But this next question, the last question, really sets the tone for, you know what, we can do more. So here's what you say. You say, once you've said it, what's the problem, and you have discussion around that, and who are we solving it for, and you round out that discussion, and you help the team. The next one is the problem we're solving big enough? And man, oh man, that question makes people sit back, or it should at least, right? Because they should think, you know what, we can do more. And that's exactly where you want them. You want them right there, right? You want them thinking we can do more because you know that you have to do more. So now the 4th tip is to keep the main thing, and keep the main thing simple. What do we mean by that? Well, your next 12 months, I need you to distill that down into one simple thing. Think of it as the biggest domino that, if knocked down, is going to just start to knock down all the others, just cascade throughout the organization. And the reason that you want to do that is into the 5th tip here, is that as you break this down into when it's going to get done, who's going to do it, and it starts to get broken down into the details, you have to tie everything back to the main thing. If you don't start with a simple main thing, if you start with complexity, it'll only turn into a bowl of spaghetti. So, we all want the simplest way to move our team to go. Use these 5 tips to move your team forward and avoid the awkward, inefficient fight or flight syndrome. You'll be glad that you did. Now, I've got a bonus for you here. Here's a process that I've set up for you to make sure that you go through. The first step, we're going to move left to right, and we're going to wrap down to the bottom. The first part is understand team strengths. So what do we mean by that? Well, when we do this for organizations, we start with strength finders, okay? It's we've got someone on our team, Lisa, our president, and she's a certified strength finders guru, right? And so she goes through, and we're going to understand the team so that when we start to have these conversations and we start to understand how they're reacting, we know why they're reacting that way. The next, we talked about this, prep the conversation, okay? Then schedule an offsite. Don't just throw everybody and say, hey, everybody, I need you to pile into the conference room. I've got something I want to share with you, and pop it on them. Talk about it as a big deal and prep the conversation as what's going to happen. When you start on that offsite, review your accomplishments, okay? And start to review your accomplishments by, hey, can we go back 12 months ago and talk about all that we've accomplished? Because it's a pretty big deal, right? And then you want to level set with those 3 questions we talked about, which are, what's the problem we're solving? Who are we solving it for? And is the problem that we're solving big enough? Right. Okay. Then that's going to create discussion. Your job is to facilitate it. And you want to use exercises to facilitate that conversation because you want to introduce growth. And then you want to take them into your laying out where you're going. And then you want to document on one simple page your plan so that it's not overwhelming, that it's clear, and everybody can reference it. If you need a copy of our addux guide, what we use, go to cypressresources.com/addux, ADDUX, and you can go there and you can go to the self-guided, and you can download a free copy of the addux guide for you to document your growth plan. Thank you. I hope this has been helpful.